Answers to the 20 most frequently asked questions here on Yellow Productions. Want to know more about what makes me tick or why I travel with a stuffed panda? Well, stay tuned to find out. If we haven't met, I'm Chris, this is Yellow Productions. I do travel guides that are fun, informative, entertaining, and all of those of you that watch Yellow Productions ask a lot of great questions. And so in this video, I'm going to answer some of those commonly asked questions. You might be here because this is a new video. You might also be here because you asked one of these questions on my channel and I said, hey, watch this video and check out this number. So welcome to the video. The first most frequently asked question on Yellow Productions are people asking me, Chris, how do you travel so much? Or this comes in the format of, Chris, how do you afford to travel so much? Well, simply put, we don't really travel all that lavishly or all that expensively, and the way we afford to travel so much is miles and points. A lot of credit card sign-up points, credit card bonuses, shopping portals to get United miles, Chase Ultimate Reserve miles, American Express membership rewards, anything that I can earn to transfer to get free hotels and free flights. That is often how we are traveling, and if for some reason we're paying for our flights, then we are definitely getting really cheap flights. People often ask, Chris, where are you going next? And it's often where it's cheap. When we go to Tokyo, we love to get those $600 fares from LA to Tokyo. Actually, we've found flights sometimes for as low as $400 round trip from LA to Tokyo. So that's how we afford to travel so much, looking out for deals, looking out for things that are cheap, earning miles, and earning points. Frequently asked question number 2, do you do this full time? No, I don't do this full time. This, I consider it to be more of a hobby, certainly a hobby that I'm pretty passionate about because I put quite a number of hours every week into making these videos, but it's much more of a passion project than it is an income source. Frequently asked question number 3, how much does YouTube pay you? Well, that's a really complicated question. And first of all, like, YouTube doesn't pay YouTubers a salary. YouTube makes payments based upon AdSense earnings, and that depends on the video, the keyword, the country of the viewership, how many ads people watch, how many ads people click on. But I will say, as the answer to the previous question, that I say I don't do this full time. I don't make enough money from this to do it full time. I have a full-time job other than YouTube. From YouTube AdSense revenue, I do get enough money to help cover my equipment expenses, but it definitely does not go far enough to cover my travel expenses, flights, and the hotels that we do have to end up paying for. But it is nice that when I buy, a new video camera for a couple $1,000s, I don't have to just bite that so much in the bullet. I can be like, well, at least I got a few dollars from YouTube to help pay for that new camera. Frequently asked question number 4. Who travels with you and who holds the camera? This will also answer the question, are you married? So the person who travels with me the most, well, beyond Topher, the traveling panda, is my wife. On this channel, she goes by the nickname OC Girl. We'll talk a little bit more about what OC means later. She is often the one holding the camera. So if you ever hear any laughter in the back where someone's laughing at me for being so completely ridiculous, that is my wonderful wife, OC Girl. And if for some reason I'm on a trip where she's not with me, then I'm typically holding the camera on a GorillaPod or some little tripod, usually handheld, where I hold it about here and shoot it kind of selfie mode like this. Frequently asked question number 5. What kind of camera and microphone do you use? This one people are generally surprised about because they think I use some kind of fancy DSLR camera. I really like Sony camcorders. When I travel, this is the camera that I use right here. It's the Sony FDR-AX53. This is a 4K camcorder. What I like about it, no lens cap. You just have this thing, you open this screen and the lens cap just opens up. It's got this, so I can turn it around when I want to be selfie style. I can just shoot just like that. It's pretty easy, it's pretty quick, and it has a really great microphone that integrates with it. You'll often see this clipped on my shirt or clipped on my bag. This is the Bluetooth microphone that goes with this receiver right here. This microphone, it is a Sony Bluetooth microphone. It only works with Sony cameras because it pairs with this little device right here, but it's nice because There's only a battery on the microphone. There's no battery on this receiver, so I don't have to worry about turning this on, replacing this battery. When I open this, it is ready to shoot and ready to collect audio. That's the #1 thing for me doing travel videos, is being very quick to go from having this in my bag to turning it on and shooting a scene. When I do my live streams, I use a whole different setup. I have a whole different camcorder. I have a whole different microphone system, which includes like a boom mic, a fancier camera, but it's heavier and bigger, so I don't travel with that. If you want to know more about my live stream setup, and that's actually what I'm using to record this video, you can find a link in the description below about my live stream setup. When needs warrant it, I also use GoPros, and I recently just got the DJI Osmo Pocket. This one right here, it's like a little gimbal camera, so this is pretty nice to produce stabilized footage. I've used this one right here to shoot the Disneyland walkthroughs that I've done, which is this nice, smooth, stabilized thing, because it's got this little gimbal on it right here. Frequently asked question #6, what editing software do you use? I use editing software called Vegas. It was originally put out by Sony, so it was one of the things that worked best with Sony cameras. I'm really kind of stuck in Vegas, Sony Vegas 13. It was one of the last versions that Sony put out. It was bought out by a company called Magix, and they've continued Vegas. I like Vegas because it's another one of those things, it's just pretty quick, it's not as complicated as Premiere, and so I can edit my videos a lot quicker using Vegas. I can't do as many things as I could do in Premiere or Final Cut, but I like that I can edit a video in 3 hours in Vegas where it might take me 10 hours in Adobe Premiere. Frequently asked question #7, what is your favorite travel destination? Wow, that is such a hard question to just pick one. I have a lot of favorite travel destinations, so I'm gonna break it down by area that I often travel to. First, we'll start with Asia. In Asia, my top 4 are Japan, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Taiwan. In Europe, my top 4 are Vienna, Austria, Rome, Italy, Prague in the Czech Republic, and Lisbon in Portugal. And finally, in the USA, you all know I do a lot of travel videos on the USA. My favorite place in the USA is Hawaii, followed by Los Angeles with side trips to Las Vegas and San Diego. Third is New York City. Fourth is Texas for their barbecue. I love the barbecue. And 5th is Washington, D.C., because I just love all the history in Washington, D.C., the museums, and all the culture that's in that city. Frequently asked question #8. Chris, what is your favorite food? Well, often when I'm asked what I want to eat, I answer with pizza, hamburger, Mexican, as if pizza, hamburger, Mexican is entirely one food group. But specifically in that, if there's one thing that's my favorite, then you'll often see me drinking it in my videos. It's not iced tea. I mean, I drink iced tea a lot. It's probably my favorite drink, but is In-N-Out Burger. I have a lot of hamburgers right there. I really like hamburgers, and so In-N-Out Burger is my favorite place to eat. Now, if it's in the Chinese food variety, my favorite Chinese restaurant is Din Tai Fung for their xiaolongbao, which are these small little juicy soup dumplings. Frequently asked question #9. Do you live in Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Japan, Singapore, Hong Kong? No, I don't live in any of those places. I live in sunny Southern California, and in particular in a place called Orange County. Orange County, it's right in the middle of Los Angeles and San Diego. On a map, you look between those two, and there's Orange County. It is the home of the happiest place on earth, Disneyland in Anaheim, California, which is part of Orange County. It's often known as the OC because there was a show on Fox that popularized that name. There was an MTV show also called Laguna Beach that's made Orange County pretty famous. So now talking about my wife, when she goes by the nickname OC Girl, that stands for Orange County Girl. Frequently asked question #10. Chris, do you speak any other languages? Well, I don't know that I speak English all that good, but besides English, I took 2 semesters of Spanish, so I can say something like "Donde está el baño" in my worst American accent. And I also took 2 semesters of Mandarin Chinese, so I can say 我会说一点中文, which is I speak a little bit of Chinese, or 洗手间在哪里? Where's the bathroom? And I know just enough Japanese so I can order some gyoza or some mizu kudasai. Please give me water. Frequently asked question I don't have enough fingers. Frequently asked question number 11. Chris, I'm going to Las Vegas, Hawaii, San Diego. Pick your destination. Do you have any more recommendations for me? The answer is no. All of my recommendations on any destinations are definitely in the videos that I've got. Frequently asked question number 12. Can you do a video on Cuba, the Philippines, India? When are you going to Indonesia? Or where are you going next? Those are all forms of this question. And the answer is, I don't really know, because I don't really know my travel schedule all that far in advance. We typically don't plan our trips more than 3 months in advance, so often when people ask me, where's your next trip, I'm often not that sure. We do somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 to 3 big trips a year. Those would be like overseas trips away from the USA, and then maybe we do 2 or 3 trips in the US. Things, again, Las Vegas, San Francisco, things that we can drive or take a short flight to. Oh, and then about those specific requests, well, like I said at the beginning in number 1, when we're planning our destinations, we've kind of got our list of where we want to go to, but then we often go to wherever is cheap or wherever has good award ticket availability. Frequently asked question number 13. Chris, can I hire you for a private tour? And while I find it flattering every time somebody asks me that question, no, unfortunately, I don't do private tours. See my answers to previous questions. I do have a full-time job outside of YouTube, and so that would make it really hard to do private tours. Frequently asked question number 14. What is your favorite airline and what is your favorite hotel chain? Well, my favorite airline is Singapore Airlines. I find Singapore Airlines to be fantastic. Their service is fantastic. Their airplanes are fantastic. Everything about Singapore Airlines is fantastic. Although I love them the best, they don't go wherever I want to go, so I'm often found flying United Airlines. I am a million miler with United Airlines, which means I have over 1 million flight miles with United Airlines, because they often just end up flying more of the places that I want to go. Regarding my favorite hotel chain is Hyatt. I think Hyatt has some of the best properties, and I think if you're a high-level elite member in their program, they treat you the best of any of the hotel chains, though I'm often staying in Marriotts. I'm often staying in Marriotts because there are way more Marriotts than there are Hyatts, and I'm also a lifetime Premier Platinum or whatever they've made that 750 plus night tier on Marriott. I've stayed in a lot of Marriott hotels. Frequently asked question number 15. Chris, do you typically fly business class or economy class? Well, it depends on whether I'm paying cash or whether I'm using award miles. If I'm paying cash, it's pretty much economy. Why? Because it's cheap. If I'm using award miles, then it's typically business class, because I feel like if I'm redeeming award miles, I get the best value if I get business class tickets. Frequently asked question number 16. This comes on most of my hotel reviews, and people ask, what is the room rate at this hotel? And I almost never say what the room rate is because room rates fluctuate so wildly. Like, I could stay there one night and it could be $100, but you could stay there on New Year's Eve and it's $1,000. That's often why I don't say the price, because it's not particularly meaningful. Because I have gotten that question so many times, now I am saying about what I paid, even though I don't think it's a great measure because it changes so wildly, but I'm answering that just so people can stop asking the question. Frequently asked question number 17. What's your favorite Disney theme park? If you watch Yellow Productions a lot, you'll know I love Disney theme parks. We're annual pass holders at Disneyland here in California, but my favorite Disney theme park is Tokyo Disney Sea. Tokyo Disney Sea. There are 2 Disney theme parks in Tokyo. There's Tokyo Disney, and then there's Tokyo Disney Sea. Tokyo Disney Sea was originally going to be built in California in Long Beach around the Queen Mary, but they actually never got around to building it there, and instead they built the park in Japan. It is the most unique of the Disney parks. If you're in Tokyo and you only have time for one park, definitely check out Tokyo Disney Sea. If you want to know more about that, I've got a whole video about Tokyo Disney Sea. I'll drop a link in the description below. You could click on one of the cards for this video. Frequently asked question 18. Should I buy a JR pass? is it worth it? This is an oddly specific question, and it comes on a lot of my Japan videos. If you don't know about Japan, Japan offers this thing called the Japan Rail Pass. It's basically unlimited train rides on Japan railways for a certain number of days. And my short answer to this question, while I usually ask a question response, is it depends where you're going. But if you're going from Tokyo to Osaka or Kyoto round trip, then it usually makes sense to get a Japan Rail Pass. If you're only going one way, then it doesn't make sense. So it depends where you're gonna go. If you're gonna ask me that question, tell me where you're going, and then I'll be able to be a little bit more specific. Frequently asked question number 19. Why is it called Yellow Productions? And why is it sometimes that Yellow has 2 W's and sometimes it has 1 W's? Well, this one, it's a bit of a long story, and so I'm gonna give you the shortened version of the story. So the shortened version of the story harkens back to when I was 16 and I was driving my first car. It was a silver car. This silver car I was driving at night, and I was driving it and I got into an accident with a drunk driver. It turns out this accident with a drunk driver, the California Highway Patrol was 1 block away and they were filming an episode of The Real Stories of the California Highway Patrol. They heard the crash, they came over, they brought out their lights and their cameras. They weren't particularly interested in me, they were much more interested in the drunk driver of the other car. Turns out she was a stripper from one of the local strip clubs and had a little too much to drink that night. So of course they hauled her off to jail. They said, look, clearly it's her fault because she was drinking before she drove. Just give this number to your insurance and they'll know it was her fault. So I had the insurance adjusters come out to look at my car. They looked at my car and goes, your car is totaled. We will give you $3,500 and we'll take the car, or we'll give you $3,000 and you can keep the car. So I decided to keep the car, and I had new panels put on it from different used cars, the frame pulled out. So now I'm driving a car which is silver, red, and blue. At that point, I'm like, I have to get this car painted because it's essentially a clown car. So I took this car to a paint shop called One Day Paint, which, by the way, One Day Paint took more than 1 day. I feel like that was false advertising, but I didn't know what color to paint my car. So as I'm at One Day Paint, I stand there and I look up at the color board, and at the color board, I'm like, what color shall I paint my car? Having just got in an accident with a drunk driver, I say, well, what's a color somebody will see me in? Yellow was the brightest color on that color board, and so I'm like, I will get yellow. And from that point, driving a yellow car around, my nickname became Yellow. People are like, hey, Yellow, I saw you in that yellow car. And from that point, when I bought a new car, I bought a yellow car. When I registered a website, originally to share my travel videos back before YouTube, I was like, well, my car is yellow, so let me register some domain name that has something to do with yellow. So back in 2004, I registered yellow.net with 2 W's, just like this t-shirt, because 1 W was taken, but 2 W's wasn't, and I thought it was kind of cute. It's like yellow. It's like yellow kind of long. So then comes 2008, and I decide to make a YouTube channel. I call it Yellow Productions with 2 W's, just like the website that I had registered. Though I realized that that was a fatal error. I realized it was a fatal error because Google does this whole auto spelling correct kind of thing, and if you type in yellow with 2 W's, well, YouTube will auto-correct it to a single W because you clearly must have spelled that wrong, because that's not a word. So sometime a few years ago in recent history, I renamed the channel to Yellow Productions with 1 W, and so I've updated the branding to just be 1 W. But these shirts, and this is something I started doing, you know, halfway through the lifespan of the channel, I'm like, and actually it was because my brother-in-law made me these shirts. He was like, Chris, your channel's called Yellow Productions. You should wear a yellow t-shirt. So if you look back to my earlier videos, circa 2008, 2010, I am not wearing yellow. But if you look at anything I've made in the last 4 or 5 years, pretty much, I'm always wearing a yellow t-shirt. So that is where Yellow Productions comes from. It comes from a yellow car, but now it's just kind of become everything about me. I like yellow. I've got a lot of yellow. Easy to see me in a yellow shirt. Works well in the thumbnails. Works well in the titles. That's Yellow Productions. And so this also answers the question, Chris, are you racist? because, you know, people see my videos about Japan or things like that, and they're like, oh, this channel's so racist. But it has nothing to do with Asia. It has everything to do with my yellow car, and yellow as a color not has anything having to do with race whatsoever. Frequently asked question number 20. What's the deal with the panda? The panda, his name is Topher. I'm Chris. He's Topher. Together we make Christopher. Chris plus Topher, Christopher. Topher comes from the San Diego Zoo. It was actually something that OC Girl and I bought together when we were still dating. We weren't married. OC Girl, she's a little camera shy, so often her personality comes through in Topher. So if you hear that there's a different voice in Topher, well, that is OC Girl providing the voice of Topher. And frankly, I think having a traveling panda buddy, now we've actually got Topher and Columbus, it's 3 of us. I always used to say, I'm Chris, this is Topher, and we are the internet's #1 traveling duo. We might be a traveling trio of pandas now, but if you look at like people who say like, hey, what tips do you have on YouTube? People say, do something creative, do something original, stand out. And so nobody can claim that I've copied anyone else. There is definitely nobody on YouTube that has a travel channel that carries a panda and rates hotels using a Topher the Panda rating scale. It's all original here on Yellow Productions. We copy nobody. So now you might be asking yourself, well, now that this video is wrapping up, what should I do next? Well, if you haven't seen my video on Tokyo Disney Sea, you should check that out right here. And the complimentary video, Tokyo Disneyland, right here. Click either of them to watch. I won't say goodbye because I'll see you in one of those videos.